doctor, you are knowledgeable of the science of medicine, but there is also the art, the skill of execution of your knowledge. The greater your creativity in exercising that knowledge, then you become a skilled artist at your craft. So you're not only involved in the science of medicine, you are involved in the art of healing. Now, this world, however, is a world that has been more physical than spiritual, and it has not yet learned how to link the spiritual with the physical. So as you become a scientist and skilled at healing the physical, what is the standard by which you measure the health of the person spiritually, morally, and mentally? Now, you know the criterion for the physical body, but what is the criterion for the spiritual, the mental? That is not taught. But the
Welcome. In the name of God, the beneficent, the merciful, I welcome you to the How to Save Lives broadcast. Thank you for joining us. This evening, our topic will be discussing common prostate problems. As we all know, as most of us know in our communities, prostate cancer is running rampant, or I should say is being diagnosed as such. So I'd like to start off by reading some information from our esteemed Investigational Review Board. And let's start with Mr. Victor Muhammad, who is really the foundation of our Investigational Review Board. And he is a biomedical and agricultural research scientist with 35 years of experience and expertise in the creation, development, and management of laboratory and research programs. He has worked for various prestigious university research departments, such as Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, Howard University School of Medicine, and Florida A&M, as well as the United States Department of Agriculture, which is the USDA, and the National Institutes of Health, NIH. Mr. Victor Muhammad will not be joining us this evening, but still he is a founding member of the Investigational Review Board. Mrs. Carol Muhammad received a BSN from Marquette University, her MSN in Health Education from Phoenix University. She has worked in both hospital and outpatient clinical settings and has experience as an RN case manager for the Wisconsin Well Women Program, a department of the Milwaukee Breast and Cervical Cancer Program, which provides free breast cancer and cervical cancer screening for women who are uninsured and underinsured. She is currently a certified CPR AED first aid instructor for the past 24 years. Thank you and welcome, Mrs. Carol Muhammad. Mr. Eric Ahad Muhammad has an MBA. He is an investigational research analyst, CEO of Nature's-V, an online natural immunotherapy supplement company. Welcome, Mr. Eric Ahad Muhammad.
Thank you.
Minister Kareem Muhammad is a certified professional speaker and member of the Speakers, Publishers, and Authors Association. As the CEO of Covenant Consulting, Mr. Muhammad has over 20 years of experience as a distinguished, inspirational, motivational public speaker. He is also a counselor, spiritual advisor, and mentor, and certified mental health expert. He demonstrates his expertise in the field of consultants for businesses, families, and our youth. Welcome, Mr. Kareem Muhammad, Minister Kareem Muhammad. Dr. Hisham Grace is a renowned geneticist, certified high complexity clinical laboratory director, and certified embryology laboratory director of FC Lab in Downers Grove, Illinois, and he will be joining us shortly. And I am Dr. Patrice Muhammad. You all know me. Nothing else to be said about my credentials. You can read it on my website. Okay, so I'd like to open up with a statement from the research that the Investigational Review Board has done on prostate cancer. And I'd like to share that. I'm going to share my screen so we can all see that. Okay. All right. So the current concepts in cytokine research, we did that research in February, on February 5th. This was published in Current Concepts in Cytokine Research. And this was the report from the ambiguity and vague applications in the diagnosis of prostate cancer, the disproportionate diagnosis and death in original men of color. The thesis statement: we have received a vast number of telephone calls, emails, and text messages with regard to prostate cancer diagnosis. It is well documented that men of African descent are diagnosed with an advanced stage of prostate cancer and appear to disproportionately die from the treatment in comparison to men of other racial backgrounds and ethnicities. This phenomenon appears to be in part due to aggressive diagnosing and overtreatment in men of African descent. The prevalence of prostate cancer diagnosis among men of African descent has caused us concern and called to question how is prostate cancer diagnosed, which is causing such a disparity. Therefore, we set out to find the definitive standardized criteria for the diagnosis of prostate cancer. And in conclusion, I'll go right down to the conclusion. The goal of this project was to discover a set of protocols employed by oncologists, urologists, and radiologists that distinctly points out and makes clear the metrics, tools, and processes to diagnose prostate cancer and gain relevant information to significantly reduce the incidence and death of prostate cancer in men of African descent. However, as a result of our investigation of the literature, we were not successful in locating a definitive diagnostic criteria for prostate cancer. If there is a standardized protocol for diagnosing prostate cancer, then it is not easily accessible. Therefore, after uncovering this critical discovery, it is imperative that we conduct further research to develop a definitive criteria for the diagnosis of prostate cancer with the goal of minimizing the tremendous gap that exists in the overdiagnosis and overtreatment of prostate cancer in men of African descent. With that, I'd like to open up to our IRB members. And I'd like to first start with Mr. Eric Ahad Muhammad.
Greetings and peace. First, thank you, Dr. Patrice, and to my family members who are part of this IRB. When you work as hard as we do to bring you the new, the new understanding of health and wellness, the new idea that we are looking into and beginning to understand the metrics, the metes and the bounds, the scientific analysis that is applied in today's world, and understand that that application is not allowing us what we intend in our health. To be more specific, we're speaking of prostate cancer, specifically prostate cancer dealing with African and African American males. You go, I should say, we go to the doctor and we express that which we are going through as our body matures and gets older. We ask the doctor what's going on. The doctor gives us a understanding that it could be this or it could be that. In this case, it could be prostate cancer. We ask the question that is the basis of our IRB: what is that definition? We researched all the information that was available during the time that we had, but our research led us to find that there is no concrete definition for prostate cancer, nor its diagnosis. So the environment that we're in is telling us that there is an increase in the diagnosis of men of a certain genetic background that have prostate cancer. Yet the professional scientific world, when asked, tells us that every man, there was a study of 100 cadavers, and every man between 45 and 60 all had in their cadaver analysis what would be considered prostate cancer, 100%, by the definition of what is called prostate cancer or prostatitis or prostate issues. So it would seem that those in the scientific community would say 100% can't have cancer, so what is it that they have? However, because of the business of medicine today, we are all diagnosed with symptoms or early symptomatic prostate cancer to be given treatments for what we have come to understand is nothing more than an inflammatory process in the age of the prostate in men, which causes the issues that men have with their prostate. The other side of it is that we're going to the same group of people who have not been or have a record of healing us in the process of our getting diagnosis. And we must understand that we have to come up with the new understanding of what health is, not medicine, health and wellness. So with that being said, I wanted to get that information out because it was something I thought that needed to be said. Dr. Patrice, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eric Ahad. This investigational review board did a study based upon the compilation, or what they called a meta-analysis, of the prostate cancer research available through, and I'll state exactly, the forums and the publications that we reviewed. And we conducted a data analysis and carried out a systematic review of information obtained from PubMed, Medline, Google Scholar, Springer, Science Direct, the CDC, Cancer.org, and the American Urological Association. And those articles, we scanned through all of those articles and put the search word of prostate cancer diagnosis, gold standard for prostate cancer diagnosis, just standard for prostate cancer diagnosis, standardized prostate cancer diagnostic criteria, diagnosis of prostate carcinoma. What is prostate cancer? What is the definition of prostate cancer? Prostate cancer diagnosis in men of African descent, prostate cancer diagnosis in African American men, prostate cancer diagnosis in Black men, how to diagnose prostate cancer, how is prostate cancer diagnosed? All of those were the search words that we used, the terms that we used during our analysis. And with thousands of studies that were compiled, it was not concluded that there was a standardized protocol or definitive criteria to diagnose prostate cancer. So, Nurse Carol, would you like to give a statement this evening?
Yes, and greetings to everybody who's on listening to this, one of the most important informational sessions that is on in the world this evening. I want to go into something that the both of you mentioned about diagnosing. And one of the key terms that kept coming up for me when I was trying to find a definition of prostate cancer was the term overdiagnosing. And I had never heard of that. But one of the definitions of overdiagnosis is of a cancer is when cancer is asymptomatic, meaning that there's no symptoms at all. So a gentleman can go in to a doctor's appointment and have a PSA test done and not have any signs that his prostate is causing him any problems at all. So you get this detection of an asymptomatic cancer that doesn't grow or is growing so slow that potentially over time would not cause any medical problems for you at all. So when the outset of the study that you read said that we've been getting a lot of calls, someone being told that they have cancer, no symptoms, and then told that they should start chemotherapy or radiation or both. That's pretty extreme to me, being that this person doesn't have any symptoms. It seemed like you would want to surveillance that area for a particular amount of time before you would even mess with it. And those type of cancers are cancers that usually is not what's going to do you harm or cause your death. So I thought that was one of the most striking aspects of this study, that one of them that I thought was really important, because it took me into another direction of seeing, well, what other cancers are overdiagnosed? And there are several that are overdiagnosed.
Thank you. Thank you. And you're absolutely right. There are many that are overdiagnosed. There may be some abnormal cellular turnover, but that doesn't mean let's go and cut it out, or let's go and give radiation or chemotherapy in particular. So, but that's what's happening. And that's what we pointed out, especially with prostate cancer. That is a common problem. And speaking of common, some of the common conditions of the male prostate, which just occurs with aging. is BPH, benign prostatic hypertrophy. And benign prostatic hypertrophy, that's really an age-associated prostate gland enlargement. And it can cause some urinary symptoms, some difficulty in urination or poor urinary stream, because it's pressing on the urethra, it's pressing where you have to, when urine comes through, the tube, the urine comes through and causes some issues. So you have poor urinary stream, or you have residual urine. You urinate, but you don't empty the bladder fully. So you have some residual that's there. And then during the course of the night, you have to get up again and urinate. So that's a benign condition. It's more aggravating than anything, but it's definitely not cancer. And it should not be looked at as, oh, this is the stepping stone, or this is the time just before I develop cancer. This is what happens before I develop cancer. That's why I have this problem. It's because, you're going to have cancer. No. It's an age-associated prostatic enlargement, age-associated, okay? And as Mr. Eric Ahad mentioned, that it's just, I was about to make a point. He mentioned that the prostate enlargement is the same, the tissue type is the same from the study of 45-year-olds to 65. From 45 to 60, 100% of the cadavers had that. It's an age associated. And we know that there's a dietary component, especially in our communities. There's a dietary component that is also at the root of this. That's a major component also. There's a dietary component. And you can find that in the PubMed. You can find that in research studies. Mm-hmm. There are published research studies that state that prostate issues are linked to dietary issues. And then you have something called prostatitis, which is the inflammation. It's like a painful process. It's a painful condition that's caused the prostate to be inflamed. And sometimes, or most times, you need an antibiotic to help with that. It can become chronic. And that again is an individualized situation. Sometimes you may have what they call a sexually transmitted infection that can cause prostatitis, but that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes when you have the benign prostatic hypertrophy or hyperplasia, there's retention of urine, and then the bacteria can build up there and cause that prostatitis. So those are common conditions. Again, just because you have pain, just because you're having urinary problems, does not mean that that is a stepping stone to cancer. It does not mean that at all. Those are just problems of the male prostate that occurs with aging. Okay. So I'd like, for those that are on, I was hoping that we would get some questions to ask this IRB, as well as I'd like to announce that we will have an open forum discussion on this Saturday, October 7th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We'll make sure we put the information. The information will be posted on all of the, you can check Health at Its Best. You can check under Patrice Muhammad. You can check at some of the other broadcasts, the CTG broadcast networks. You can get the information from, we'll put it in the chat. It's been posted and reposted. I've been seeing it for this event. And you'll have the opportunity to ask IRB members questions in person. Some of the IRB members will be in person. Those that will be joining us via virtual, they will also entertain your questions and answer your questions. And this is an open forum discussion. Let's talk about what we've revealed, what we've discovered, what's out there, the myths, the facts, Let's just sit down and have an open discussion, and we give enough time for us to dispel some of the myths. And if you've been diagnosed with prostate cancer, you have an opportunity to get a second opinion, a third opinion. There will be other male doctors. I won't be the only one. There'll be some male doctors there that you can sit and talk with and get information and follow up, so that you are not just forced into a decision for overtreatment, which is treating a potentially non-threatening form of cancer that can be, as Nurse Carol said, you can have a surveillance, meaning we'll just watch it, conservatively watch it over time. You do not need to have a procedure done. So until there's some questions, we're giving opportunity for questions here. We will put the information in the chat for you to join. If you can't make it, if you're not in the Chicago area or the surrounding area where you can drive and actually sit down and participate in person with this open forum, we will provide you the Zoom link to join the open forum discussion event on Saturday. And this event will be at the Salam Community Wellness Center. I also like to discuss, or I like to share this article for everyone to see, and I'd like you to go and read it, because I have something directly from the doctor who developed the prostate-specific antigen. The prostate-specific antigen was designed by Dr. Richard Ablin, and he stated it was never designed to diagnose prostate cancer. It's not more than just a coin toss. So he has wondered for many years, he's still alive, and he's wondered for many years, why is this test being used with such consistency to diagnose prostate cancer? So I'll share my screen so you can see his words directly from the article.
Before you do that, Dr. Patrice,
Yes.
tell them the acronym so everybody can know what you're speaking of in layman's terms for that test. It's called the what?
Prostate-specific antigen.
Or the acronym?
PSA.
There we go.
Okay. All right.
Everybody knows it by PSA.
There you are. Thank you. PSA. The doctor, and this is an article, as you see, from March 11th, 2010, from HealthBeat. And Dr. Ablin states, and I'll just go down. It states, the man who invented prostate-specific antigen, PSA, which is widely used to detect signs of early-stage prostate cancer. And Dr. Ablin, at that time, he was the research professor at immunobiology and pathology at the University of Arizona. He has since retired. But he reveals that in improving the procedure, quote unquote, the Food and Drug Administration relied heavily on a study that showed testing could detect 3.8% of prostate cancers, which was better than the standard method of the digital rectal exam. So the digital rectal exam that they do was less reliable than this 3.8. So they combined them. So the criteria that I was trained on is that there's a combination. There's a combination of both the PSA and the digital rectal exam, performing the digital rectal exam first. I was taught to do that first because as you manipulate the prostate, it can mobilize some of the the antigen from the prostate and falsely elevate it. So we were taught to do that first and then draw the test. And he goes on to state, still 3.8% is a small number. Nevertheless, especially in the early days of screening, I hope people can see this. Maybe I should zoom a little bit to see if, okay, is that better? Okay, good. Still 3.8 is a small number. And nevertheless, especially in the early days of screening, men with a reading over 4 nanograms per milliliter, very, very small, were sent for painful prostate biopsies. If the biopsy showed any signs of cancer, so we're just talking about any little abnormal cell overgrowth, the patient was almost always pushed into surgery, intensive radiation, or other damaging treatments. Prostate cancer is a tricky disease because the cancer grows so slowly. It does. You can live 10, 20 years with quote unquote prostate cancer. A great many men who were diagnosed with prostate cancer will die of something else long before the symptoms of the cancer catch up with them. As Ablin points out, because PSA testing is pervasive, American men have a 16% lifetime chance of receiving a diagnosis of prostate cancer, but only a 3% chance of dying from it. And I'll go down and share one other statement from him. Ablin has been frustrated by widespread use of the test. Each year, he notes, some 30 million men, and that has gone up now, some 30 million men undergo PSA testing at a cost of $30 billion.
There it is.
Yet, the test is hardly more effective than a coin toss. As I've been trying to make clear for many years now, PSA testing can't detect prostate cancer. And more important, it can't distinguish between the two types of prostate cancer, the one that will kill you and the one that won't. So as you said, there it is. And there's the rub, as they say. So follow the money.
Follow the money.
Follow the money.
Follow the money.
So $30 billion, that was in 2010. That was in 2010. So if we were to do the numbers now, oh my goodness.
Well, what would the numbers really be, Dr. Patrice, Nurse Carol, Minister Kareem, with now, with 5.5 billion people inoculated with a vaccine that causes inflammation, that speeds up cancer, that speeds up cancer's growth. But I think that the telling thing here is, Dr. Patrice, when you were reading it, and you go to the nurse's office, and Dr. Patrice and Sister Carol, and they tell you you have cancer instead of telling you have a tumor.
Yes.
Because there's a difference between a benign tumor and a malignant tumor. One of our viewers today, Abdul Wali, asked a quick question. He said, could you please tell me to take this medicine, TAP? You know the name of that medicine, Dr. Patrice? You see that? Tamsulosin or not?
Oh, tamsulosin. Mm-hmm.
What is it called?
Is that the one? Tamsulosin?
Tamsulosin. But listen to his question. He
Yes.
said, Nurse Carol, I was diagnosed with benign prostate.
Yes.
This man has medication for benign prostate.
Right. Right. Absolutely. So the medication is supposed to help shrink the prostate. That is the purpose of the medication. Now, does it really work? Not the way they try to portray that it works. And when they come to you and they say, well, this isn't really working, they just up the dosage. And they're giving them this medication, and eventually they go and have a procedure. That actually kind of shaves off. There's several procedures. I can't keep up with them all. They go in and shave off or shave down some of the prostate tissue that's enlarged, and that causes the majority of times it causes those urinary symptoms to be to not resolve. They're persistent and chronic. And so you wonder, okay, well, why am I getting this again? And most times when the prostate enlarges to a point where you're barely getting any urine out, because that's the reason why most of the time they go in, they try you with medication first, and then they go in and they remove some of the tissue around the urethra that stops you from urinating. And then you have the other effect. Now you have this chronic urination, this problem, and now you're dribbling, and now you have to wear, these pads and all these other things. And I can imagine that could be very frustrating to a man to have to wear Depends because he had a procedure where now he leaks, just without this is just uncontrollably sometimes. So you can't control it. So at any rate,
what I will say to Mr. Abdul Wali Muhammad is you should contact Dr. Patrice. You should ask her about the supplement IB100. We've had many, many, many men take it. And in them taking it, they have resolved their prostate issue. Until we begin to look away from the current world of medicine, I don't think this message can be shouted further from the mountaintop than today. They have created an environment. Mr. Kareem Muhammad, can you mute your phone?
I took care of it.
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay.
Yes.
And so they have created an environment of the entire body being in an inflammatory state. So if you had the issues of an inflamed prostate, and if you go to them now they'll give you all of that of which Mr. Wali Muhammad is speaking of. However, it will not resolve. We have methods that we know work that are not deleterious to you. However, we don't have the time to convince you to not go to a doctor that you've been going to that hasn't answered your problems, but just gives you a prescription that creates more problems that will make you a permanent patient later. We don't really have time anymore to, I'll give you a very hard, palatable term, dilly-dally with you any further about it. You have to make up your mind that you're not getting results there and try something else, especially when there's so many things that Nurse Carol or Dr. Patrice or other naturopaths could lead you to, but you are somewhere in an environment that created a disease to make money from the disease, to cut you for nothing, to cause more disease, and yet you are still there. Common sense would say, let's try something else.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that. I see that Abraham Sharif posted the prostate cancer industry figures, and it states that the global prostate cancer market size, let's show this, was estimated at 12 billion in 2022, and it's expected to hit around 27.51 billion by 2023, growing at a noteworthy
round it up 10%.
Well, yeah, right, 10% over the period from 2023 to 2032. But that still seems, I'm not sure when they say the prostate cancer market size.
Right,
but I wonder what they're talking about in particular.
They're talking about, I just gave everybody an inflammatory vaccine that we have already said in our other studies in the IRB that they said, Nurse Carol, they said that anybody, women who went to the doctor within 6 weeks of taking the vaccination, the 4 of them, okay, could not get a mammogram because the signals or the mammogram would would signal that they had a breast cancer issue. Now, we all know right now, due to the investigation we did on the other parts of the IRB, that the levels of cancer, breast cancer diagnosis went up, cancer went up. So obviously prostate cancer would go up. Now, you can predict that when you do things like that, and that's why they can say that.
Right. They motivate the market.
They made the market. And until we challenge the market and go a different direction, then we play I was speaking to a family member yesterday, and they told me they pay $600 a month. They take $600 a month out of their check for health care coverage. It's not negotiable. You have a job, they take it out. Well, that money is sitting there for somebody to use. Well, if everybody gets better, I guess nobody takes that money from your account. You no longer need to pay it. But one of the greatest industries in the world is the medical industry, and you can't get around it. And they don't want you to do anything else. And they make you pay into it. And they make you sick at the same time. Yes. We have to begin to look at these things like that, because that is the metrics that we find in that environment. And please excuse me, Dr. Patrice, but we don't have a lot of time to continue to go back and forth. And I'd like to say salam alaikum to my brother Abraham Sharif down in Mexico. It's good to see you on the line, and hopefully we'll see you down in Mexico soon.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. I know that we haven't heard from, Minister Kareem Muhammad stated earlier on that he didn't really have anything to say as a member of the IRB, but I'd like, if it's just a basic statement of your acknowledgement of being a part of the IRB, let's do that, because he has done some significant work with the IRB and has also stated his work with men in his consulting company, where he has consulted with men regarding prostate cancer and has this information as a backbone to provide to his male patients or his male consultants, or how should I say, your consultees. Exactly.
Yes,
sir.
I was, again, thank you, and I thank the members of IRB for giving me the opportunity to share my experiences.
Yes.
It was approximately, I would say, about a year ago. As a matter of fact, I remember the date. It was March the 13th of 2022, when for the fourth time I had to go into the hospital due to high blood pressure. It was then I started the study of natural herbs and foods that will put my blood pressure down. And at the same time, I realized the connection between inflammation of the prostate, varicose vein, vascular health, heart health, kidney, and liver health was all tied into one. As we used to say when we were in grammar school, the neck bone is connected to the hip bone, and you remember the song. And so I come to find out that everything is connected. So if someone has blood pressure, they have an inflamed, men have more than likely an inflamed prostate, as well as heart problems. And as I started to attack aggressively my challenges with my blood pressure, I started realizing that I could not feel the symptoms of an inflamed prostate, as well as blood pressure going down, other things, able to breathe better heart health. And I started sharing this with all of my clients that I consult, because I come to find that it's not just a man who is affected by prostate inflammation, it's the whole family that's affected by it. And the thing that can change is, as Brother Eric mentioned, about the herbs that are available, along with that, in changing the diet, changing our way of life, and starting to exercise more and get that blood flowing. God has given us everything we need on this planet to heal ourselves. All we have to do is make up our mind, step up to the plate, and hit a home run, and we can reverse these symptoms. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. That's very real. when you have vascular issues, it's not just in one area. It's it's a it's a central generalized problem, and that's the other component that we'll be discussing on this Saturday, because I'm sure that's going to come up. Prostate issues with men who have diabetes and high blood pressure, because those chronic conditions affect the vessels that innervate or that are in the prostate gland, that are um, uh, that are close to, of course, the sexual organ. So those are issues, very real issues. And I know that it becomes an issue when you have to take blood pressure medicine and medicine for diabetes. Yes, they help lower those pressures, but they also help lower other pressures too. So we can talk more candidly about that during our open forum discussion, as well as have one-on-one availability with some of the male doctors that'll be there that can go further into that, as well as male doctors that'll be available for follow-up at Salam Community Wellness Center, so that we can face those issues. And I would just like to say I have had several men on IB 100 for prostate cancer, and all of them are still alive. All of them are still doing well. And I do have that experience, and I do have that to give as my personal experience with IB 100 in relation to its use in prostate cancer. Now, I haven't had one bad outcome, not one.
I
So.
can concur with all of the people that I've dealt with the same issues. I want to say this to the brothers, men listening. It would be nice to have a man to talk to about your issues. And I know between Mr. Victor Muhammad and Dr. Patrice Muhammad, there's enough available to deal with your issues. But you can no longer sit back and not get the nexus between a prostate issue, a vascular issue, an erectile dysfunction issue. They all have the same environmental problems that are going on with your body. Some are compounded, some are not. But we have to get the best advice that we possibly can, no matter what the source is, because you're fighting an institution that is not here to heal you. And you're going to them for a diagnosis about your health. And healthy people don't make money. So something has to be wrong. I was talking to my sister today. Listen to this. I was talking to my sister, and we were talking to each other, and she was telling me about her being on blood pressure medicine. Now, Nurse Carol and Dr. Patrice, I want to give you what her blood pressure is, and she is still on recommended blood pressure medicine. Her blood pressure is 119/72. Now, would you think whatever that doctor is who's requiring her to take blood pressure medicine is I would have to say he's a quack at this point, because I don't recall that being an issue with your blood pressure. However, he is still trying to strengthen her dosage of the blood pressure medicine. Now, would that mean if somebody came to you and said 119/70 and I said, I'm taking blood pressure medicine, what would you say?
Well, for me, as I'm working clinically in primary care and see patients with blood pressures that low and on medication. So transparently, being transparent, you have to make sure that that person is ready to come off blood pressure medicines, because I would ask them, Your blood pressure, the last however many times, has been stable. I know you're on medication, but it's been stable. You're at a healthy weight. You seem active, and your other labs look fine. Would you be willing to have a trial to come off of your blood pressure medicines? To try that and see what they say. Now, I have encountered, unfortunately, we perish for the lack of knowledge. I have encountered people who I have offered that. Oh, I was told I can't come off this because if I come off this medication, then my blood pressure is going to go right back up. Well, your blood pressure has been in the 100. I've seen people with blood pressures 105 over 60, 110 over 64. Those levels of blood pressure. And if you're on a low blood pressure dosage and you have those levels, I give people an option. And they look at me like they look at me strange. I've never heard anybody offer that. If they're in their ideal body weight, if their other labs look fine, if they tell me that, their diet, I do run into patients that are they are really looking after their health. And I tell them, well, would you like to have a trial being off your blood pressure medicine? And they, more times than not, they do not want to risk it. They think that it will not sustain them. But I do have a few that definitely will try it and have tried it and have been successful. But more times than not, they don't want to lose that good blood pressure, that control over that good blood pressure. It's this medication that's doing it. I tell them, no, it's not the medication that's doing it. Your body is adjusting, and it may go up a little bit when you come off the medication, but let's work with some other things now. Let's work with some other things. And then this was when my other hat comes on. I have some whole food supplements and some herbals that I'm pretty sure that'll help keep your blood pressure low. And sometimes they do, but most times they do not. That's the sad reality.
It is.
Yeah.
Because we've been programmed. It's hard to overcome that programming. You cannot get off your blood pressure medicine. When you're on it, you stay on it forever. And I remember being taught that when I first started practicing medicine, because I had the knowledge of how to eat to live. So I had the knowledge of how to eat to live before I started practicing medicine. So I did ask, some of my supervising attendings, the doctors that were in charge of training me. I said, well, she can come off this medicine, right? Her blood pressure is low. No, once you're on blood pressure, always on blood pressure medicines. Once you're on that medicine, because the minute they come off, it'll go back up and you're risking a stroke and you don't want to be sued. See, now we're in the litigious talk. They don't want to take you off because if they take you off and something happens, then you could be sued. That's the practice.
Well, I think that there's one thing I know that you all can speak to, but we don't talk about what long-term use of blood pressure medicine leads to.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I was speaking to my brother today. He called me, and I found out that he had a kidney transplant.
Oh boy.
Now this man is 6 feet tall. He weighed 209 pounds. Wasn't a drinker, none of the above, but he took blood pressure medicine.
Mm. Yes.
And when he told me, I said, well, that's the nexus right there. I mean, you might not know it. Your doctor should have, it's right on the bottle. But now if the doctor keeps you on blood pressure medicine, in 3 more years, he got a permanent patient, right?
Absolutely.
He has a permanent patient. And then you'll be dealing with dialysis, and they'll come back and tell you what? Oh, your blood pressure's fine. And you're off the medicine then too.
Yes.
You're going to get off one way or the other.
Yes. So that's the other side of the coin, is the destruction of the kidney cells and liver. You know, those medicines affect the liver too. You'll start to see that the liver enzymes start to creep up. And so we have to start adjusting medications. You know, it's like, wow, you know, you have to adjust medications. When you see the liver enzymes go up, you do liver panels, they don't have active hepatitis, then we have to look at the medications. Okay, so let me take you off this. Let me change that. See, I'm doing the acrobatics here, you know, to try to manage that. And then I have to look at the medications. Which medications are causing the most of that influence on the liver that cause the liver enzymes to shoot up? So I have to figure all this out, and it's like, oh God, you know, this is really something. But the bottom line is, as we conclude this health paradigm, and we've talked about the new health paradigm that's coming, we have to leave these synthetics alone. We have to. If we do not, we will destroy kidneys, liver, heart, brain, who knows. So, and in that, we have to do better with monitoring prostate issues. Do not get your prostate biopsied until you've spoken to someone who knows what they're looking at, who knows that you should not go for those procedures that can cause irreversible damage. Get your second opinions. Give us a call. Contact us at healthatitsbest.org, natures-v.com. Reach out to us. Thank you for listening. And could we please have any closing comments from the IRB? And I'm looking forward to Saturday. I'm getting excited because we will share this information with the larger group, and I'm sure we'll have more. I am going to look and see the information about the absolute cost of that PSA as of right now. I did see those figures from our brother, but I'm going to look further to get some absolute figures on that PSA cost in particular. And the prostate cancer, the Louis Farrakhan Prostate Cancer Foundation was May of 2003.
Thank you.
So I know we talked about that, and we will discuss a little bit more about that on Saturday also.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining me. Do we have any other closing words from anyone?
I would like to say I'm thoroughly looking forward to this Saturday. And I thank the IRB for your diligent study and research and all the commitment that we've made. I've been able to take this information to others and inspire them to heal themselves and to work hard to come off of medication, ease their wear off, and realizing that, you know, there's another life out here.
Mm-hmm.
I thank Almighty God for putting me in a position where I just dived in. I didn't tiptoe, I dived in, and I see tremendous results, including weight loss, vision being better. I don't have the signs that I had before, bad health. So it you know, like we've been told, back in the day, when we smoke weed or whatever, you want to tell somebody, you want to share somebody. You see a good movie back in the day, you want to tell somebody. You know, and now that we are really being inspired to be a part of changing people's health naturally, worldwide, you want to tell somebody. So anybody that's out there, I want you to not just take this information for yourself, be excited and share it with somebody. You don't have to go drag them to a place. They can get on the Zoom, and you can get them on this call next time we have it. And let's continue to spread information so we can inspire our men to change their lives, so that not only will they not be affected, but their families will not be affected. Their families will feel better because they feel better. That's important. Let's get on this mission. So I thank everyone for your hard work and your diligence.
Thank you. I don't think that there is, I don't think there's a better closing plea.
Well, excuse me, Dr. Patrice. Mr. Abdul Wali Muhammad has a question, and I think that it's something you might want to address.
Okay. I have, okay, so my primary care physician removed me from enalapril, 20 milligrams. Now I'm on losartan potassium. Is this one better for me for now until I can get my diet right? Okay, well, the enalapril that you had, that supposedly have some kidney sparing properties. It's supposed to help spare some of the damage that kidneys can undergo with medication. Losartan seems to be one that is more for a heart. It's a little bit more protective of the heart. And it helps on that level a little bit more. And they're two different classes. So I can't say that the ACE inhibitor or the ARB, as they call it, these are just classes of medications. I can't say for sure which one is better for you because I would need some more information, but they're two different classes and they work in two different areas to help control the blood pressure. But obviously your primary care thought that that was one that needed to be added and had taken you off of the other one because there may be something going on with the preservation of the heart. And so that may be one of the focal reasons that you have that. Okay. So please contact me. Just go to my website. You can email me any questions and we can talk further. My email is health@its-best, and we can run that as health@its-best, the number 1 @gmail.com. As well as you can follow me on Instagram or Facebook, but contact me directly, health@its-best, the number 1 @gmail.com. Okay. Thank you all for such a wonderful program. Again, looking forward to Saturday. And I hope and pray that we continue to make the strides in helping to educate and protect the communities and humanity at large. Have a good evening and peace be unto you all.
Be unto you all.
Good evening. Peace be unto you also.
Right.
This house is dedicated to knowledge and to the spreading of knowledge. Elijah Muhammad inspired new thought, new mind, new way of civilization among black people. But he wanted a house from which a light could be lifted up to give guidance to all who would be guided as this world begins to close down. This National Center for the re-education and retraining of the black man and woman, but for the totality of the human family of our planet. I named this mosque after the only woman that the Quran names a chapter after, the mother of Jesus, Maryam. All human beings need to be re-educated. That is the purpose of the National Center.